painting pictures or drawing pictures for kids at school. Kids would always ask me to draw stuff for them, and then, I got a little older, people asked me to draw their tattoos. Did I?
You never did what I asked you.
My bad. we can do
Still
that.
Waiting.
So this has been one of those things.
Here we are.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Cognition. We're here at Sippin' Sonder with the amazing collective of artists, ArtUs. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Are we chilling? Where do we start? It's kind of hard sometimes interviewing people you know so well.
Right? Man, you got the answers.
I have a question. Do you think that that gift of art is something you're born with or something you can develop?
Both.
I think both too.
Yeah, my parents don't know where I got it from. They both are like, I don't know why you're able to do this. And they would always freak out when I would draw when I was younger. But just because I've seen what my work has been able to develop into, and I've seen, just before and after pictures just on Instagram, they'll be like, 2008 and 2019, and they'll show the progress. But I always say there would not be those companies that advertise teaching people how to draw if it wasn't something that you could teach people.
Right.
Very true.
That's a good point. I firmly believe that everybody is born with the potential to be an artist, but a lot of people just divert from that path because they become distracted with certain things. Like I think there's a reason why we refer to somebody who excels in a certain industry as an artist or a crafts person of that field, right? So I remember growing up, I always used to hear people say, Michael Jordan's like an artist. And I didn't equate that to value until much later when I started questioning what it really is that I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And if I'm going to pursue art, I feel like it needs to contribute something to civilization, because that's how, I want to move. I want what I'm doing to be a positive contribution to civilization. So once I started reconciling, the role of the artist in civilization with the way people regard artists, it kind of started to make sense, and I was able to do that. But I say all that to say, I think everybody starts out with the potential to be an artist, and it doesn't have to be painting, it doesn't have to be sculpture, it doesn't have to be music, it doesn't have to be, theater, but you can still master something to the extent that you've transcended the medium and you've established a connection with the viewer. It's just another way to communicate, but on one of the highest levels. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think everybody has the potential to be an artist, but a lot of people just get distracted because, you want a solid 9 to 5. You want security, really is what it is. People want security, and they rest in comfortability.
And sometimes people aren't encouraged, their creativity isn't encouraged and nurtured too. I think that can be a lot of
Absolutely.
With that, it seems like art has come naturally to the three of you. Was there ever a point where you may have taken your abilities for granted, or thought that everyone else could do it, and what made you exceptional in it, did you see that later, or was that immediate?
I personally took my abilities for granted as soon as I graduated up until, creating ArtUs with these two. For years, I would just do paintings here and there. And it was just because I felt like it, and they never had any meaning or anything like that. Not much thought. It'd be like, I just want to paint this green lady. So I took it for granted in the sense that I knew it was something that it was a talent that I had, but I just didn't value it, and I didn't see the value of it. And maybe that is because, you said, just with society, being an artist is kind of something that people brush off because they think it's a waste of time, and they know it's hard to make money in this industry. So it just wasn't something that I was focused on. And then once I changed my focus, or shifted my focus, my work changed and developed so much. But yes, I absolutely took it for granted for a long time.
I did too. I feel like for a long time, comparison was kind of killing me. Like, I'd see artists that I liked doing a bunch of stuff with their work, like making a bunch of pieces. Dave McDowell is constantly rolling out pieces, and I felt like because I'm not doing it as often as most working artists are, I kind of, brush it under the rug and kind of have stuck to my day job, my 9 to 5. But since we've agreed to come together and do this ArtUs thing, I think I'm taking it a whole lot more seriously.
Yeah.
Do you think that art is good when you spend a lot of time on it? Is there, because you have like quickly produced art. Do you think that its value is weighed the same versus fine art, things that take a long time? Do you value it the same?
I mean,
Wait, what is the difference between art that's quickly made and fine art?
It's like the difference between like old school hip hop albums and songs that people write in 10 minutes. Do you think that?
But that also has to do a lot with the technological advances, right? It's a lot faster to produce an album, it's a lot faster to do certain things than it was, like, say, the 1600s.
Yeah, I don't think time is a factor, but it's not the only factor. And just because something was done quick doesn't mean it's not fine art.
yeah.
The piece that gets the most response for me was the fastest piece I've ever made, and that's She. Yeah, I made that one in 6 days, and I've worked on other pieces for months.
Same here.
Yeah.
But it also depends on the artist. Like, when you say quickly, I'm thinking like doodles, like artists that literally scribble and go. And those artists, I have a respect for, because my brain doesn't work like that. Like, I'll scribble and then I'll be like, okay, wait, I gotta make it look like something. Like, I can't just leave it like that. So I admire people who are that free, but I don't think my work's any better, for sure.
The other thing too, though, it's not about the time it takes to do something. A lot of it is the time that it took to get you to the point to where you could do it so efficiently and so well. So you're spending time on it regardless, unless you're doing like some art brute stuff and it's just about getting something in the raw form, or like those childish drawings that you'll get from like an actual child who, you know what I mean? But like, other than that, like, people spend years leading up to the point to where they feel like they can do something that maybe takes them 10 minutes.
Right. Well, here's maybe a weird question. What is your art worth? What is it worth?
It
Like, how
has
do
a
you price
range. It has a range, and it depends on the time and the image, and just, I don't know. There's so many factors that I tie into what I price my pieces at.
That's why I asked the question about time.
Mainly the energy. I think it's not even the time; it's the energy and what that piece means to me at the end of it. Because I personally, I get so attached to my work. And
you don't want to sell it.
I don't want to sell it. I fall in love with my pieces, and I'm so proud of them. So yeah, I think that I value them, and I price them at prices that I'll be okay with selling them at. Like, okay, it's all right. I got that much money.
That's so interesting. It's so different from music, because you make it to sell it, but you never really give it away.
Right. Right. You can always.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that when it came to music, but when it comes to music.
That's the interesting thing just about the arts in general. Like, I've been delving into comedy lately as like one of the greatest art forms. And the thing about comedy that's different than music or art is that the first time you experience it is almost like the only time you can really experience it. Like a joke. The first time it makes you laugh, you're going to laugh the highest you ever laugh, unless you forget the joke and then somebody reminds you. You know what I mean? But like with a song, same sort of thing, but like you kind of want to hear it over and over again. Painting, for sure, artwork, like I stare at my pieces for hours sometimes.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like the way you experience work is so interesting to me too.
With the say energy can sometimes charge your art. Are you able to channel any energy? Say if you're angry or sad or happy, does that have a reflection in what you pull out?
On my work, absolutely. I tend to work faster, and I feel like my work is, I don't know. Actually, I used to feel like I had to be some like extreme emotion or in some emotional state when I would work because all of my best work came out that way. But I don't know. The more I practice and stuff, I've been learning to just bring it out no matter what. But there's just certain times where, you know, it's a good time to paint, and there's other times where it's not a good time and I can't focus and I just end up on my phone. And like, it just really is something you have to play by ear and just feel out as you go.
Does time of day ever play a part in it? I know like a lot of musicians will do their thing at like late night.
Right.
Is that the same or?
Yeah, for sure. For me, at least.
Okay.
Yeah, like between the hours of like 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. are my most really like 4 a.m. But those are like the hours where I just zone in. And sometimes like going to the gym first helps because then your endorphins are like just kicking, and you're thinking about all the stuff that you want to do when you get home or to your studio while you're working out. At least that's how it is for me.
Yeah, my brain shuts down at 2. If I'm working till 2, I'm really into what I'm working on, and then I realize, oh shit, it's 2. I need to stop.
I'm the same way. Usually I'll start late afternoon. My ideal is late afternoon, like 3 or 4. And yeah, if I'm up till 2, I'm hurt. And I could never do my work after the gym. Oh no, that sounds awful.
no, I need to lay down.
Yeah, no, I need to build up the energy.
Yeah.
What do you eat while you paint?
I like to snack while I paint.
Snack?
Like, it just depends on my mood. Like
Like Skittles?
I'll go into, like, I love candy, so I'll just go into different phases where I might just be eating Hershey's Kisses, you know, and painting, or I'll get like a iced vanilla latte and just slowly sip that while I paint. But it's really just a mood thing. But I had to stop doing that because that was not good for my skin. But I have the urge to when I'm painting. I'm like, I just want something to nibble on.
Yeah, I don't really eat when I paint.
You don't eat?
Nah, because I work with oils a lot of the time, so I can't go
don't
back and forth. But I drink a lot of black tea,
Okay.
or green tea. It's just something to keep me going because it's so late, you know.
I keep my food and my work separate too. Like I have to take a break from it. Like it has to be completely. Otherwise,
Yeah.
I'm scared I'm gonna
Right.
get something on my piece.
No, my meals are separate, but not my snacks.
Yeah.
What would you say brought you to your particular styles?
That's a good question.
I can say for mine, like what I'm working in right now is melted crayon.
Excuse me?
And
Melted crayon.
crayon, yeah.
Melted crayon, got you.
So it's like drips of crayon. And I got it from my dad. He's done it my whole entire life. And it was always so intimidating because he would put a canvas on the table, light a candle on top of the canvas, and take crayon and like literally drip, one drip at a time, to build like this amazing piece. He has so many pieces that he's done. And I've always watched him do that growing up, and I was so intimidated. And one day, I think last year maybe, I asked him to tell me how I would even start it. Because like in secret, I was trying to do it before and I just gave up because I couldn't figure out the rhythm. But when I finally asked him how to do it, he told me the trick, and ever since I'm able to like pull it off like him. So
Wow.
he was my inspo for it, and it's been so far working out.
Your
for
dad's
me.
an artist, like
Yeah. My mom too, yeah, both of them.
Quick question. You said you have to find the rhythm to do that. Do you find that you all have to find a rhythm when you're creating?
I do.
Is that important?
I do. Yeah. If I don't get in a groove,
That's the
I
better word
won't.
for it.
Yeah, I won't get a lot of work done.
Yeah.
It'll be little hints here and there because when I'm in a groove, I work really fast. But pieces that take me longer is because I'm kind of forcing myself to finish them.
I think it's just that notion of being in the zone.
Yeah.
You know, like with anything, even if you're running, like you just get that runner's high or whatever.
Yeah. You really zone out.
Yeah.
It'll be like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Seriously.
But back to that first question, I wanted to answer that one because I had a realization recently. So the two things that got me working the way I'm working or creating what I'm creating are philosophy and fashion. Because when I was a little kid, I thought I wanted to be a cartoonist. And then I found out you have to draw the same thing over and over and over again for the most part. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. So then I was like, fashion. You know, like my mom always had me dressed in fly and, you know, I liked fashion. You see the pants? No, I like fashion, but then one of my mentors, like a peer mentor, he had a really bad experience when we were in high school with a client of his, and he was doing some fashion stuff for her, and I was like, this industry is just shady. Like, I don't want to, I don't want to mess with it. Fashion industry, yeah.
The fashion industry is shady?
Yeah.
What industry isn't shady?
But I was in high school. I was in high school, so like, I'm not thinking about the industry, like the politics of the industry. I'm just thinking about, what you want to do with it or within it. So he has that experience, and I'm like, yeah, maybe that's not for me. And because I look up to him so much, he was a year older, but like super good artist, and he's a great designer now. He looked at my work. He was like, Kyle, you're a fine artist. And I didn't know what that meant at the time. So that's why I say fashion and philosophy, because I still utilize fabrics in my work, which tells me that like I really do have like some, affinity towards this
textiles. Yeah,
textiles and implementing that in my work. And I say philosophy because it was it was one of my college classes where I found out about Plato's allegory of the cave, where if you don't know about it, go look into it. It's really interesting stuff. But basically it goes, there are these people in the cave, they're looking at the shadows on the wall and they're thinking that that's reality. But behind them is somebody, casting the shadows, and, like there's a whole layer behind the veil, right? So I'm thinking philosophically about the work that I'm making, or the things that I want to address, these topics that I want to address, and then I just regurgitate it out. Or no, I don't regurgitate. I transmute it into art, and I utilize, things from fashion. So that's why I say like fashion and philosophy.
And I believe that my need to disconnect is what led me into my style and what I like to paint. I love the idea of just all of these possibilities that this universe can produce, and just not, all the things that we don't see inspire me. And I feel like escaping is what my work is about for me. Like, I feel like it's an escape, it's a release, and all of this stuff. So like, I've always loved stories like Alice in Wonderland and anything whimsical like that, but I think it's just the idea of tapping out.
What scares you about being an artist?
Everything.
Yeah.
For me, it's so vulnerable putting pieces out. Because sometimes I'll have like this really complex thought behind a piece that I made, and I'll put it out and people are like, I don't get it. And that feels really vulnerable. Or sometimes I'll make stuff that's really shitty and they love it. So it's
I don't get that. I don't understand.
It's just super vulnerable because for me, all my work is so personal. Even if I do a painting of Prince, there's a reason that I did that. So everything about it is frightening. The putting yourself out there. And like Bria said, like all my pieces I'm so attached to, so it's like my baby. Even the idea of like selling some of my stuff that I'm super attached to, I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? Like the money will feel great, but I won't have it anymore.
Yeah.
And some of the pieces that I'm making right now, I don't think prints of the piece would work in the same way. So it's like I'd really be giving up the painting and just have, or the crayon piece and just have the photo. So it's like all of those elements terrify me, but it's, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not too scared about too much anymore. I think, well, okay, so I went to Otis and I had this painting professor, and he was such a hard ass. Like, he would make people cry on like a weekly basis. Like adults, we're in college at this point. And he as much as I hated him in the moments, I loved him so much because he was pushing me to that level, or to like the next level, to think about my work in a different way. And, I think I went through all that, like being rejected or feeling like you're failing and all that stuff at that point, because this guy is literally telling you, and you trust his opinion. Everybody trusts his opinion. At the school, in his industry, everybody's like, yo, this guy knows what he's talking about, right? It's like if your dad keeps rejecting you for all intents and purposes. So then once you go through that and you come out and you're like, all right, I'm still here, even though he said X, Y, Z, like I can prove him wrong, or I have proven him wrong, or maybe, now he sees where, my work is valuable, like things like that happen. So you just kind of go through all that and deal with like all those insecurities, or that's what happened to me. I dealt with those insecurities in those moments.
For me, I was just intimidated by the art world in general and just getting into it. And like I said, lots of my earlier pieces had no thought, so I just didn't think much of them. Yeah, they showcased what I was capable of, but that's about it. So I had just insecurities about putting my work out next to other artists that I respected. And I would get offers before we even started this. People would be like, oh yeah, why don't you put your work in this show? And I just didn't want to do it. And I'm so glad I didn't back then, because I wasn't ready. And now I just feel so much more confident about my work. And like, I feel like I know it's good. And I know I have people around me who I trust when I ask their opinion. So I really don't care what people think anymore. Outside of their 2 cents, I don't really care. So,
well, what is your relationship like as a collective? Because being an artist could be a very solitary experience. You spend a lot of time by yourself. What does the collective do for your process?
It's great for me. I love it because I know I can call them anytime I'm stuck on a spot or a piece, or I don't know how to create something, because I didn't go to college for this. So there's lots of techniques that I wasn't taught. So I'll just ask them, and it's really comforting, because a lot of things you can't look up on the internet either.
Yeah.
Is there a collaboration that ever happens? Like collab on a piece?
Yeah, it's in the works, but
But how did you develop your techniques?
lots of practice for me.
YouTube videos at all?
I have some little snippets on Instagram, but not YouTube.
That stuff helps. That stuff actually does help. Like just seeing somebody else do it, it makes it, I don't know, like it realizes the process for you somehow.
More attainable.
Yeah.
So you learned in person your techniques, most of them?
Sometimes, but I always tell people, like, don't go to art school to become a fine artist if you are only focused on the technique, because you can learn that online, or you can learn that just by doing. So like what I took away from art school, and a lot of my classmates, like, what was it, sophomore year, they're like, man, this is some bullshit, I need to get out of here, like I need to go to law school or something. And I was like, yeah, you probably do, because you don't understand why you're here.
Damn.
Because your art
But
sucks.
for me, no, I mean, even, I don't remember what their work looked like, but like, just imagine, feeling like you're not getting anything from something because you don't know what you're looking for. So for me, like, instantly, I was like, oh, I'm not here in this department, not in the fine arts department, to learn how to paint something that looks a certain way. I would go to the illustration department, or maybe even the graphic design department for that. I'm here to learn how to think more conceptually and how to translate that. You know what I mean? Like I learned that, and it made me a more conceptual thinker with my pieces, because I could draw and I could learn how to draw better. Yeah.
Being raised around art, how has that heightened your sensitivity to creativity? Or has it?
You grew up 2 artists.
I did. I feel like I look at everything as art. It's so funny. I was just talking to someone at work the other day about Halloween Horror Nights. And when I go, I look at the mazes as art. Like my
It is,
family
though.
and I, we just, the people are coming up to you and scare you, and we're just sitting there looking at, oh my God, like how they did that is so amazing.
It is.
So I think being raised by 2 creative people made me have that's the way I look at the world. I can see so many things that you wouldn't consider art as art.
You know what? You didn't ask me this question, but I look at not architecture, but like construction almost as art. Because like, look at this space. This space was just grass probably, and now we're in it, and like how it's designed matters and affects us.
Totally.
And that's, not even talking about the interior design, just the construction of it. Like everything literally is how the city is mapped out. is art.
Yeah, the most underappreciated artist is the person that made this chair.
Bro,
Yeah.
it's a lot of underappreciated artists, and so like it makes me think about what is an artist. Is an artist when you're like, you know, all melancholy, or you know, or is art like you super square and you got your briefcase and you just got, you know, Bill Gates type swag? Like, can you be an artist under any circumstances?
I think so. I think that any form of expression is art. And I think it's something that people need to recognize and tap into, because we don't all express ourselves in the same way. I paint, some people dance, some people act.
A librarian organizing books, could you consider that art?
No.
Why not? What's the difference?
I mean, unless she's organized or he is organizing the books in a way that's like aesthetically like moving them, and you know, like if it brings them joy and it's in the form of expression, yeah. But if you're just putting books away by alphabetical order,
But what if they're doing it by color?
oh yeah, then yeah. Like, I think that matters.
So where does the separation start? Because obviously there's a separation in people's mind for sure. When they describe art, right? So quote unquote, and then something that can be artistic in a way, right? Like organizing books.
Yeah.
So where does that differentiation start for you guys?
I had to deal with this so much at Otis because, and this is I think where I deviate a little bit from a lot of people. I mean, you know, Lonnie and I have had a lot of talks about art, and I come off as an art snob, I think, to some people, but I think there's a difference between art and design and illustration and art. Not to say that any one is greater than the other. I think they all have their place. For instance, you're talking about the guy who designed the chair, or the person who designed that chair. Like, they've contributed something. You know what I mean? Like, they did their job. But I think once we go into these gallery spaces or these museums and we're like really researching these pieces in the classical art term, it's because these people have transcended the mediums and they've expressed something, or they've made an idea accessible to people that wasn't there before. You know what I mean? Like they've changed the way we perceive certain things. For me, that person was Marcel Duchamp when he made Fountain. If you don't know it, go look it up.
Even I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
It's like a urinal, right?
It's a urinal and it says Armut. That was his alias. And the reason why that, to me, shifted the way I look at art in conjunction with Plato's allegory of the cave is because it makes you question art in such a grand way. Prior to that was modern art. And in modern art, you know, a lot of it was just about painting pretty pictures and, you know, scenery and people walking and, you know, like all this like really pleasant stuff. But there was a whole bunch of really fucked up things that were going on in the world that wasn't being represented in the work. So Courbet's Stonebreakers was another painting that, you know, kind of like was the light bulb that went off for me, because you see people walking down this cobblestone road in England in like the 17 or the 1800s, but you don't think about everybody who makes those cobblestone roads. True. And that painting Stonebreakers is the people actually like breaking the stone for that whole process. So it just shined light on another part of that equation. So, you know, you just get like a wider perspective of like the social landscape. And I didn't really explain the whole Armut thing, but basically he took a urinal and put it in a gallery setting and then made everybody say like, what is art? You know, like that's why that's art to me.
Would you say that was your favorite piece? Or do you have favorite pieces?
It's my favorite for what it contributed to art and therefore civilization. You know what I mean? But like just aesthetically, no, it's not my favorite thing to look at. But
Are there any types of art or artists that you hate?
I have very little respect for artists who, like, my thing is this. I don't like when artists do simple, like, almost, were they stencils of celebrities?
Like to spray paint on the side of the
Well,
road?
not even just spray paint, but when it's just a simple image of a celebrity and there's just no thought in it and there's no meaning behind it. Because I love painting celebrities too. It's fun. But I don't like people who make they're living off of just painting only celebrities. Like, I'm like, you're not thinking about anything. You're just finding what works for this image. And I just don't think that that's a form of expression. And I used to do it, so that's why
That's why you hate it?
I'm like, guys, like, I know how little thought went into it when I used to do it. So, like, yeah, it just irritates me when I see artists who were, like, really popping that.
Oh, that's the difference, because they're popping for it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't hate them if they're just like unsuccessful.
Yeah. Because it's not even them, it's the audience. It's the fact that people who aren't even into art, they'll go and they'll buy a piece like that and spend loads of money on it, but will pass up on a piece that actually took thought and, you know, a lot of work. So yeah, that's just a pet peeve of mine.
What does that say about? I'm sorry. What does that say about the interpretation of, like, say, the everyday man in comparison to somebody that has that eye? You know, because you say you can tell when someone didn't put that thought process, or you know because you have done that as an artist. So how is that a frustrating thing for you guys as artists when the general population makes somebody, you know, for lack of a better term, popping because of their lack of understanding of depth?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, but it's also understandable because people don't want to have to, you know, study art, or, you know, they know what they know. Everybody's in their bubbles, and it's understandable. It's just a frustrating thing I've noticed in pop culture mainly, and it just makes it tricky for lots of painters.
I think more than anything, it's indicative of civilization and like where we are as a society. Like, we're a convenient culture.
Yeah.
And it's not just that. It's like the fact that we rather eat fast food than something, you know, or then go home and cook something, or that we have to be instantly gratified with, you know, everything that we're experiencing for the most part. So like it's all just indicative of something larger. Like it's not that separate, you know, from any of that other stuff.
You know, what would make certain art more valuable than the other? Like, say if a certain piece is valued at or priced at a couple $100 versus something that'd be like 40 million. And for me, I'm not in the market to be buying art like that right now, so it all just looks the same.
The way my account's set up,
but
we're gonna have to wait.
What would make the difference? What makes the difference?
I can answer this because I still don't know.
Politics. It's all, that's the political aspect of it all. Somebody's dead, of course, you know, you're going to value their work higher because, you know, there's less of it out there. Like, it's finite. But other than that, I think it's highly political. Like, I think some of it is where they went to school, if they went to school, who was representing them, things like that. Like, people play off of... So, all right, Andy Warhol was like a genius artist, right? And one of the things that was so genius to me about his artistry is that he knew how to play the crowd. He was like one of the original trolls, low-key. Right. So, like, you see him in interviews, and they're asking him how he came up with these ideas, and he acts like he's so aloof.
Like, I didn't.
Yeah, and then he's like low-key smiling, right? He's like, I didn't even touch that one. That was you, wasn't it? You know what I mean? And he's playing all that up because he knows that they want to know, like they want to do like this whole like genius artist sort of thing, and he's negating it. So that's why I say that is genius on his behalf. But really, it's all just the politics, I think, at a certain point, which is kind of why we started ArtUs, because we wanted to start a platform that could give every artist who you know we felt was ready like a shot. You know, like being a starving artist, it's not fun. I've done it. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? It's nothing to strive for. I think sometimes people need to go through that process, depending on who they are, of just like struggling with their work, but it doesn't mean you need to struggle for your money. So like, we're trying to eradicate like the political, or the negative elements of the political.
How do you do that?
Well, we're giving people opportunities to show their work, whereas, you know, getting in a gallery, just like sending a submission, fat chance in hell. We hope down the line to, you know, start helping artists get their work licensed so they can make, you know, residual money as opposed to just like a one and done sort of thing. we have a few different things in the works, but yeah, it's really just about like helping ourselves and helping other artists who are up and coming.
So do you see yourself developing into an agency of sorts for artists?
Kind of, and like a gallery, but like not a gallery that's gonna rob you anytime you sell your pieces. Like most galleries expect 50% of whatever you sell your pieces
For real?
for, and it's bullshit. And like even conventions and stuff. Like I went to Art Basel, and when I was there, they were like, "Oh yeah, it's 30,000 for this tier," like, and that's just a section where you put your art on the wall. And I was like, so I might not even sell my work.
You got to pay $30,000.
Yes, like I'm sure lots of people had sponsors, but that's ridiculous because the average artist is not going to be able to get to that point. So you want to be able to provide a platform where you can get the same kind of exposure, but you're not getting robbed in the process.
Right. So it's filling a need that you have, basically.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about right now.
Where do you see your art taking you long term?
So many places. That's such a good question.
You want to go?
I have to think about it. I mean, I think we're off to a good start, and the intention is making our art into our full-time business. In the long term, man,
I hope that our art changes the way artists are viewed, and just the way that the business runs for artists, because it's just very unfair to painters. You know, you sell your work and then it can go and sell for double or triple the price later on, and it's not fair. So hopefully through everything that we're creating, we can create a new path for artists. But hopefully we go down in history and we're just really famous. And everybody studies us.
Also, with me, like, I see the art as just a platform to amass the notoriety, to bring attention to the other ideas we have too. You know, like, I want to get into science at some point in my life. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's a connection between the two too. You know, like we both of them observe the natural world, and then they either do something to create something to solve a problem or to address an issue or a topic. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, even with this next show, we want to, start highlighting real world issues. So this next show is going to be all about climate change and climate change and being green and all of that stuff.
So like making current events into art.
Yeah, and just, shedding light on these things through art.
Right. Amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. You know what? That was just such a powerful claiming ceremony. We're going to end it there, make it short and sweet for the people. Everybody, please go to artus.gallery. Stay in tune with everybody. You guys are having a gallery coming up soon and many more galleries in the future. You want to let them know how to keep in contact with you guys?
Yeah.
Collectively and individually.
Our Instagram is artus_gallery. And then you can go to artus.gallery to find out about any shows or purchase originals, prints, merchandise is coming soon. And then my Instagram is @KYDJOR, so like Kai Joy.
My Instagram is @Bria_Murphy. That's Bria with an I, not an E.
And mine is @PaintingJade, all one word.
Yeah. So tap in with them. You got to see it in person, though. You guys, will your galleries be open to the public?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you see a flyer go live, go tap in. Like, there's no way to convey textile cloth through a picture. There's no way to convey melted crayon through your phone screen. So
diamond dust.
There's no way. So make sure you get there for the in-person experience. So yeah, man. Once again, another episode, another Cognition in the books. Shout out to Sippin' Sonder, cafe in the middle of Inglewood, beautiful. Come through and grab you a mocha latte. Okay. Tell them Lonnie Rose sent you. All right, you guys.
Yeah.